Hello, Patriots. I had an engagement today that I want to share with you. I'm basically going to cover the opening and the guest that's being interviewed. Then I'm going to fast forward to my question and the response there is, and that's where I'm going to cut it off. And that's that. So let's go.
We had to.
Yep. Welcome to the show, guys.
Missile program, an experienced army. If the U.S. engages in a military clash with Iran, it could be costly.
This will not be like our actions in Iraq, in Afghanistan, or in Syria. This is a conflict on an entirely different scale with a highly sophisticated, well-trained, and well-armed adversary.
An adversary that would almost certainly turn to guerrilla tactics early on. Military analysts say Iran could stage attacks such as those last year on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and Saudi oil fields. The U.S. blamed Iran for those hits. Iran denied it, but world oil markets were briefly rocked nonetheless, and bigger attacks could undeniably create larger shocks. Or Iran could call on its many allies in the region to carry its fight against America. Shia militias, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, groups that could use Iranian intelligence, logistics, weapons, and more to launch terror strikes on U.S. allies, embassies, military bases, American officials, or even private citizens abroad or at home.
There is a network of Iranian elements within the United States that the FBI is watching.
In terms of sheer firepower, Iran is no match for the U.S., which has more warships, planes, helicopters, tanks, and active troops.
They know that if we go all the way up the escalation ladder, our capabilities, our Air Force, our naval capabilities will destroy theirs. They're much happier playing at a lower level, sort of the asymmetric level.
But when and how and aimed at which targets? All we know for sure is that the Iranians are promising a response to the killing of that top-level military leader.
Definitely there will be a revenge. There will be a harsh revenge. Iran will act based on its own choosing.
And the White House?
We will respond with great force and great vigor if the Iranian leadership makes a bad decision.
Iran, the power behind terrorism in the Middle East and beyond. Welcome to Training Tuesday here on the Rob Maness Show at the Red Voice Media Network. We're live, and we're live on X Spaces with our simulcast. So we welcome our live audience over there and look forward to your questions and engagement. Well, folks, the United States and Iran relationship has a long-term historical place in both governments, and it hasn't always been adversarial like it is today. It has been for the last 45 years or so. Unfortunately, chants of death to America and that America is the great Satan can still be heard in the Iranian parliament, a body completely controlled, like the rest of the Iranian government, by Shia Muslim mullahs led by the Ayatollah. The Iranian government is known to be behind Hamas in Gaza and the West Bank, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Iranian militias across Syria, Iraq, and the rest of the Middle East. And with more than 60 attacks on U.S. forces by those militias in Iraq and Syria, Iran is doing everything it can. It appears to widen the war beyond Gaza and to pull the U.S. into it along with what's happening to Israel already. This threat of an Iranian war against the U.S. was predictable, as that cold open video you just saw was from 3 years ago. But is the prediction unfolding before us today? Well, it certainly looks like it to me, but my guest today to discuss that question is Mr. Michael Pregent, a U.S. veteran and a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute and a former intelligence officer. He's got over 28 years experience working security, terrorism, counterinsurgency, policy issues in the Middle East, North Africa, and Southwest Asia. He's an expert in Middle East and North Africa political security issues, counterterrorism analysis, stakeholder communications, and strategic planning. Michael, welcome to the Rob Maness Show, sir, and thanks for your...
That is where I'm stopping in regards to the guest's introduction. And here is where I'm going to transition to where my engagement was. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to go out of order. Go ahead, AJ.
Thanks again for the mic. I'll be very, very quick. The question is regarding Hamza bin Laden. During the time that the United States was hunting down Osama bin Laden, Hamza bin Laden was living in Iran with safety assurances and basically away from the U.S. hands. Now, this information is about 18 months to 24 months old, but I have the intelligence report on it, and I can share if needed. But Hamza bin Laden has been moved from Iran into Afghanistan under the protection of Taliban. The question is this: is it beyond the realm of possibilities in the tit-for-tat reasonings that Iran would mobilize Afghanistani Taliban in order to enter Iraq to hurt the American interests and soldiers and embassy there is? With that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Thanks, AJ. Go ahead, Michael.
So Iran has ties to the Fatah Mayun. That's the Afghan Shia inside of Afghanistan that they've deployed to Syria, and they've used in Iraq. And the Fatah Mayun, which are closely tied to the IRGC, would be deployed before the Taliban. Now, the Taliban has expressed interest in participating in any greater conflict with Israel. So those things do stand, and the IRGC maintains close relationships with both groups. We have to remember the current IRGC leader who replaced Qasem Soleimani, his name is Ismail Qaani. He actually had the Afghanistan portfolio before Soleimani died. Soleimani had the Levant and Iraq, and Qaani had Afghanistan and Pakistan. So, absolutely. Iran will fight to the last Arab. Iran will fight to the last Afghan. It rarely puts their own people at risk. And in the advisory role, we have seen some Quds Force officers killed in airstrikes, not only by U.S. forces inside of Syria during the ISIS campaign, but also by the Israeli Defense Forces inside of Syria. So there are generals that have died on the battlefield, but they were advising Arabs. Yeah. And they will continue to fight to the last Arab, and they actually look down on the Arab in a lot of ways. And a lot of Arabs don't know that or want to ignore that or deny that. But these Shia militia groups, to them, they were willing to sacrifice the leaders of several Iraqi militias after we took out Qasem Soleimani. In those hours that followed the targeting of Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes, the IRGC and Tehran were willing to off-ramp with the United States by saying, listen, how about we give you these 4 or 5 militia leaders inside of Iraq and we just call it a day. So the Iraqi militias need to know that Iran views them as expendable, that they are cannon fodder. And Hezbollah knows that. Nasrallah knows that. Nasrallah, when Iran was weak under the Trump administration, Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, was very cautious to get himself involved in the Israel fight because they had lost so much credibility with the Lebanese people after supporting Assad in Syria. So Nasrallah is calculating. He's waiting. But if he sees a weak U.S. response, and we're already hearing language out of Washington, D.C., that maybe Israel should wrap this up. Maybe this is enough. Maybe if Israel continues, we won't support them. That is green light chaos language to Hezbollah. That is green light chaos language to Iran to continue to ramp up the pressure to get what you want. And that's a dangerous place we are right now.
It sure is, Michael. We've got to take our next commercial break, but when we...
And that's where I want to end it. Forgotten Country.